Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday night edition of Inside the Headset. It's week 2, game 2 here in the state of Tennessee. But Alabama, our good friends down there, and we've got a couple of them that we talk to every week, they're going to start their trek. Both of my Alabama friends are going to start their trek tomorrow night. A lot of heat issues, kids. We're going to miss a couple of people on the show tonight. Chandler Tygard is one of them, so we will probably I'll try to buzz him up. I don't know if he'll answer or not. We're also going to be missing Thomas McDaniel. They're over in Memphis, so it's a real hot area. Memphis usually gets, if we're at 96, it's 100 in Memphis. So it's always hotter in Memphis. It's just kind of what you got to deal with. But we're going to crank it up. We're going to start off right down in Alabama, about 40 miles south of Birmingham, in a little old bedroom community called Helena, and very supportive of their high school. And I've got with me the head coach of the Helena Huskies, head coach Richie Busby. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm good, Stork. Mighty hot up here, and I'm in my car, and it's still 97 at 6:17.
Well, and you were just talking before we jumped on the air that they pushed you all back 30 minutes, and not real for sure what 30 minutes will really do when you start thinking about playing high school football on a Thursday or a Friday night in where we are at this stage of the game in 2023.
Yeah, and some of the teams in Alabama even pushed back to 8, but when I talked to the coach of Chelsea, he asked about moving it back, and I wish we played every game at 7:30 because we don't release school until like 3:22 every day, so really a 7:30 game time is that 4 hours that you look for after school to get your pregame meal and things like that in, so I was all for it, and anything that can protect the kids from the heat, if we can do that, is something. We'll take the mandatory heat timeouts and all that stuff. But it will definitely be a factor in the game tomorrow night. Like a lot of times in Alabama and even in Tennessee early in the year, it'll be a factor whose conditioning is up to par the most.
Do you go down that road of they talk about pickle juice and all this other stuff, or is it just straight Gatorade, or do you try to tell your players start loading up on water like tonight? You're playing tomorrow night, so are you telling your guys, hey, start drinking water tonight, a lot of it, and start getting your fluids rolling? How do you try to do it, Coach? You've been doing it a long time, so how do you try to do it? And you've been doing it in the state of Alabama.
Well, we started on Monday, extra Gatorade and water, and the biggest thing is, we send messages home to the parents, and hopefully they started all that Sunday night, to be honest with you. And the other big factor of nutrition that a lot of people forget is eating balanced meals. I mean, you can drink all the fluids you want if you're not eating something as well. Can play a big role in hydration. But, I've got 5 head coaches on my staff. We have recently hired David Powell, who's a Hall of Famer in Alabama and won over 200 games at McAdory in 20 years. So, we've got the mustard in the refrigerator. We've got the big bottle of pickles. I think a lot of that's just some of that stuff is mental when it comes to once a kid gets dehydrated to the point of they're having cramps, there's not a whole lot that can bring them back fast enough to matter other than an IV. So
yep, you are correct.
Just trying to hydrate throughout the week is the biggest thing. I don't think we could start tonight and be effective. In our film sessions this week, and every time we come off the field, we've probably gone through 8 or 9 40 packs of water throughout the week, and hopefully at their house they're doing the same thing. So we'll see. And even with that, Stork, with this heat, we're still going to have some kids, the kids that are very lean and don't have a lot of body fat on them, are still going to deal with cramp issues more than likely.
And you bring up a great topic. Once you hit that level where you cramp up and you're on the sideline and they have to come out and they have to start to stretch you a little bit just to get you up and rolling so you get up off your feet and can get back over to the sideline. You may be good. I mean, you got to be really careful with what you do with that guy because you got to get him into a money play in order to use him, and you don't want to. I mean, he's not going to be that effective because he just can't go again. His body has nothing to recover. You've spent everything.
That's right, and I think some of the kids it's almost like a sprained ankle. Some kids can play 4 or 5 days after they roll their ankle, and some kids it can take 4 or 5 weeks. I think every kid's a little different, and some of them they can push themselves a little more than others. So, it's just hard to plan for that, but you know that you're going to have some issues. I mean, even at 7:30, the temperature may be a degree less, but the humidity is what's been so bad here. Usually in August it's very dry, but we've had a lot of late afternoon rainstorms, which just makes that morning humidity when we practice that much more.
Well, and you're playing Chelsea. Talk about what's the distance between your school and Chelsea?
Well, I'm about 5 miles from riding by there now, but we're probably 12 miles apart.
Okay.
We have 3 rivals right here in Shelby County. Calera, Chelsea are probably about the distance, and then we have Pelham, who's like 3 miles. So it's not very far. A lot of our kids, compete against one another in summer basketball, baseball. They're very familiar with one another. They hang out together. So it'll be fun tomorrow night, opening up on a Thursday night. The crowd will be tremendous. The atmosphere will be, you've been there, it will be second to none. So it'd be a fun night to be a high school football player.
When you play a team like Chelsea, what do you got to look out for with them?
Well, the biggest thing, they returned 9 starters on offense, and this is my 4th time to coach against Coach Cassidy. He was at J.B. Pennington when I was at Fultondale. So, he's going to mix it up. He's going to keep you on your toes, a lot of screens, now screens, tunnel screens. Then he's going to try to hit you with a screen and go. He's going to keep you on your toes and try to keep you from pinning your ears back and coming after him. So he's going to throw a lot of formations at you, try to get you misaligned. Offensively and defensively, our secondary coach, our strength and secondary coach, left this summer to go be the DC at Chelsea. So we've coached against one another a lot. Some of us have been on the same staffs. Our DC and their head coach were on the same staff in the state championship game in 2015. So a lot of similarities in this game. It's going to be a fun chess match early on to kind of see what each other are trying to do and what we've changed to try to kind of throw the sin off a little bit, as you will, of what each other are going to do.
Chelsea has been a team that you've kind of had your way with them here the last couple of years, so they got a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth about Helena, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And when I got to Helena, I think we were 0-4 against them, and the last 5 years we're 4-1 against them. They beat us in 2020 on the last play of the game on a go route in the back of the end zone, in which we had a pass interference play the play before. So it's our kids, it's an up and down game, just like Pelham. There's going to be some up and downs, and whoever can control those emotions and limit turnovers. They got a really good running back, so do we, but we're going to tackle him and keep him hemmed up and just deal with the emotion of the game. You get emotional and you get too far ahead of yourself, that heat's even worse, and that plays a toll on your body. So just kind of keep our emotions early, kind of let each other throw their punches, and kind of see where we're at when that first quarter ends, and then it'll just be playing football from there.
In your experience, as you go into this one, do you normally see a couple of false starts or offsides? I mean, kids being a little bit antsy to jump in there and hit somebody?
Well, and I think anytime when you play them in the first game, you're going to have some of those miscues. Hopefully we got a lot of that out of our system last week at Leeds. We had 8 or 9 unforced errors. We played well. We won, but we had some holding calls on the edge and a couple of false starts and offsides, things that the reason you play the Jamboree is hopefully you get some of that stuff behind you. But whether you call it a turnover, mistakes will always play a major role in a rivalry game. And it has every year we've played against these guys.
When you go into this and you start to think about, your opponent and everything, you kind of just want to see what they got and then adjust. So it'll be all about adjusting quickly, won't it, Coach? I mean, it'll be about, they got their guys and you got your guys, but it'll be about who makes the quick adjustments in this one.
Well, it will. And, the funny thing about stuff like this, when you're playing against a staff that there's so many coaches on each staff that have either coached together at some point in their career and they're so familiar, you may see a bunch of stuff early on that's not characteristic as far as plays and formations. But when the game gets going, each team's going to go back to doing what they do best. So that's what I told our guys today. The first quarter may be some things we may have not seen. They've kind of got an advantage from the defensive standpoint because we've got a half a game of film on them, and their DC has worked with our DC for 20 years. So they got a little advantage there. But when all that settles, everybody's going to do what they've done over their career. So it's just withstanding any of that stuff early on.
In the state of Alabama, when you all do a jamboree, you all do it just like we do. There's no kickoffs. You practice a kickoff, but nobody runs it back. There's not special teams kind of takes a sidestep in that. I mean, you may punt, but there's not any punt run back. You kind of let that factor go, don't you?
Well, they did when they played Northridge last week. We had live special teams against Leeds all the way around. We've done it the other way the 3 previous years with Leeds, but this year we just felt like that we really needed to see somebody's number one guys run their stuff against us and see how we tackle in space. So Coach Hood and I decided let's just play it live because, you can go against your scouts in practice, but it's not the same as another team running their actual scheme and their kickoff return, that kind of stuff. So they give us a choice, and I've done it both ways, but I feel good about we have actually gone through full live special teams, and they have not. They stopped on the catch. So I guess that's another advantage. We really don't know some of the things they're going to do special teams-wise as we actually did ours last week.
Yeah, and that's a third of the game. And, up here in Rutherford County in Tennessee, we take special teams to the extreme. I mean, if you can't be good in special teams, there's some coaches around here, they'll burn you. And, they're looking for you to hesitate in the punt, and if they can, or hesitate just a little bit on that PAT. And if they catch you and they think they got a guy that's a little quick, they're going to try to get back there and block it and mix it up and cause commotion.
Yeah, and, one of our, in these rivalry games, we always tell our guys, when I first got there in the rivalry games, they talked about how bad they wanted to beat the Pelhams and the Chelseas, but when we got out there and played, they lost their mind as far as doing their assignments and playing, their scheme. And so we're like, it's going to come down to blocking and tackling and special teams, turnovers, and execution. It doesn't matter how bad you want to beat them. You've got to go out there and do those things. And special teams, it's like last year losing to Calera that derailed our season. We were 6-1. They run a punt back with 30 seconds to go to tie us, and we get beaten 4 overtimes. We never recovered. And all we have to do is get the punt returner on the ground. We shouldn't have been kicking it to him in the first place. He was a state championship sprinter, and our punter lost his mind, so to speak, and kicked it right to him, and his special teams kind of derailed our whole season. So we have reminded them that of all off-season and all fall camp. So, it is a huge part of the game, and it can be a great equalizer if you're, have a little deficit in talent against a great team that really is not very good at it. So, yeah, that will be a major factor tomorrow night.
Coach, we wish you the best of luck as you go into battle tomorrow night against Chelsea. We'll be watching those scores, and we hope you stay healthy and both teams play hard and you have a real good time. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's the reason why you do this game. I mean, it's not because you're getting paid a lot of money. You do it because you love the sport.
Yeah, I told the kids Tuesday, I said, guys, there's no other sport that you put as much practice time in to get to play as little as we do. I mean, you spend 7-8 months preparing for a season, and you get to play 10 times, and you only get to play once a week. So that taste, whether good or bad, stays in your mouth for a whole week before you get to do something about it. And it's a special sport. takes a lot out of the kids, and it takes a lot of effort and time, and here it is. So, go enjoy it.
Yeah. Coach, be careful. Come away with a win, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday night on Inside the Headset.
Yes, sir, Stork. Go Huskies.
Go Huskies.